Hi guys. Yes, it's been several days since you've seen me. Aren't you excited? Trying to get ready for the new year. Got things coming up. I just thought I'd show you the starting of working on a drum that's got stitching on the top. So don't do this at home. I brought it pretty close to the edge. I'm taking the other one out because it just went into the salvage. But this is going to be, hi Katie. It's not pressed in as the best it should be, but I wanted to let you see that I either use 2-ply cotton mat board if I'm just going to be using this for a model, or I use heavyweight interfacing on the top just to keep it stiff. Some people do that, some people don't. But I have pressed this. I think I'm going to need to make it a little bit bigger than the interfacing because it went up to the edge, because of course, I'm putting a square item on top of a round piece. But anyway, I've got it set up. I need to get some thread that will match it. So I've got to go through my Barney box and see if I have anything, or I may have to go to Joann's. And yeah, there's velvet pellets because we're going to use velvet to finish it. I find that when you're using linen, it's better if you do use, hi Susan, hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I find that using interfacing helps you see where you need to turn it under, and it works better with linen because linen is a looser weave than a fabric, and it just keeps it in place as you're making it. Now, since I'm backing into this one different and it's not a normal size I use for a drum, I don't have the exact dimensions. So I do things backwards and weird. There are plastic templates that you can make, that you can purchase. I think it's a whole set of them. I forget the name of it. Several designers use them, but they're different round sizes. Can't get Susan to wave. I can't wave at her. There, waved. Finally waved. Anyway, so what I did is I found a round object in my house. I always do that fits this. And I put it on here, and then I took I'm going to use the same color velvet. I'm going to use the Romina's La Festa velvet for the sides of the drum and the bottom of the drum. So what I've done is I've turned the velvet inside out, and I am loosely holding it. Well, I measured around it, so I knew how long I wanted it to be. Hi, Barb. I knew how long I wanted it to be, and then I marked off. I'm going to trim this down because I usually like to have a small seam. I marked off. It's about 3/4 of an inch on both sides of this, because around this was about 17 inches loosely. So I cut one that was 18 inches. Though I think it's going to end up being smaller, because I do see I have where the pen is where the seam allowance is going to be. Some people like to machine sew. I might hand sew this. I'm not sure. I just need to find the thread and then go from there. But this is a quick stitch, so it just depends on if I want to move everything, because my sewing machine is piled up with stuff. But what I did is I loosely went around this and made sure that the linen will fit just inside of this. Of course, it's like holding it in the ear, so it's not going to be, but I'm going to readjust it again. But that's a way you can do this if you don't have exact measurements, is you get the diameter of your circle, measure it out, and then add an inch or so for the fabric, and then start pinning. You can start pinning it and seeing where you want to put your seam, which I've done. And you can either hand sew or machine sew really quick down the seam. And then what you'll do is we'll turn this right side out, and finger press down. I think I've made it, I don't want it quite this tall, so we're gonna finger press it down. Hi Doris. Finger press it down about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and I probably will trim that seam, but this seam is really tight. I'm going to kit this up for a couple kits because I've got enough thread to do several of those, and once I get this done, I'll let you know about the kits. And I also have to dye some more of the 32 linen, but I also did the bottom. Oh, excuse all the little pellets, but I before I attached once I made sure that the heavyweight interfacing would work, before I attached it, I made a template. So I have put the interfacing on the bottom of the velvet and cut it down to, this seam allowance may stay. I may tack this seam allowance down. Depends. Velvet moves around a bit, so that I might need it to stretch and move depending on the size this turns out, since I'm doing this a little backwards than I normally do. But I just wanted to show you that I've got my bottom done and I've got my top done. And I highly recommend using some people use lightweight, but I highly recommend using an interfacing, especially on linen, for the top, because that helps you come up with the edge of where you need it to be. And then I'm gonna like blind stitch this. And then I think I'm gonna come back and I may do a decorative, like some people do, like a herringbone stitch. Yeah, I'm just move my fingers all around. Herringbone stitch where the seam meets. I'm not really sure. I want to see what it looks like because I'm not putting a stitched body. I'm going to put a solid color there. So it's going to be all one color. So I'm going to have to think of something different to do with it. I don't have a trim that would totally match it. I don't want to make another trim in the same color. So I'm really thinking about this. I may end up embellishing it with a cotton thread because it's a silk that I stitched this with, a cotton thread that matches it or something that's a little off, just to add some flair to it, but we'll see. But I just wanted to show you, this is the first part of getting ready. You've stitched it, you figure out, woohoo, we just sold something. You guys heard the ka-ching. I might not have to go live on the streets tonight. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the starting of it. And then sometimes I put interfacing around the body. I don't think I'm going to do that on this because the velvet is pretty strong itself. I'm just going to have the interfacing on the top and the bottom. That's going to keep the piece in shape. And then once I get that thread and I've sewn up this seam and I'm going to pin it and make sure it's right and it gets in place, I'm going to put I need to start finishing sentences. That's a thing that I critique myself on. I normally put the bottom on first, but because I stitched this so close to the edge and I need to play with it to make sure it's going to work, I'm going to stitch the top on first. And then, so it'll be upside down and I'm going to put the lizard litter in and I'll fill the lizard litter up about a quarter to a little more than a quarter, and then I'll start putting in the lizard or the animal wooden shaves that they use for their litter, and then I'll fill the rest with the lizard litter, which is crushed walnut holes. So I won't do any of that not in front of this, but I just wanted to show you because I know a lot of people have quickly stitched Frosty, which from Blackbird Design, which is a stitch top, and a lot of people have it. When I did the drum for the other piece, had several questions on the stitch top, and I got Frosty, but I haven't stitched it, and I was working on this, so I thought I would make this into a top, and it's going to be a bigger drum than I normally do. It's going to be pretty big, but it still will work. I mean, I press the envelope and do things different than everyone, but it's going to be a bigger, we could probably make it into a door stopper. We'll see, but you'll get the idea. But anyway, get stitching. I'm going to put this on YouTube probably tonight, I hope, and this will be like step 1. You finished your stitching, you find the size of how round the diameter of the circle. Yes, words are coming back to me. The diameter of the circle, use interfacing, or if nothing else, cut out a piece of mat board or something's heavy and then press your linen over it so you have the the edge for the circle so you can figure out how big you want your body of your drum. And then you want to add, when you come up with a dimension for the body of your drum, you want to add an inch or more so you can have a seam allowance, and you can always trim that down. And then for how high, on the height of it, that's your horizontal going around, and on your height you want to add at least 1/4 to 1/2 an inch on each side, so that would end up being 1/2 to 1 inch. I cut mine close, but when you're not used to it, because you always can trim down, you can't add 2. So I would start with 1 inch or so, because once you get the top on, you can decide if you want to cut some more off before you attach the bottom or attach the top, and then you can trim it and get it all straight before you put it together. And then you decide, make sure that you have a template of what you did for the top, so you know how the circumference of the diameter of the piece that you're going to do on the bottom, so both pieces will match. So that's basically what you do to get started. I've got to run and do an errand, and I think Joann's may be closed, I'm not sure, but I'll have to go dig through my Barney box and see if I can't find some type of thread that I can use to stitch this. And I use like a ladder tack blind stitch when I put them together. So that's the starting of putting a drum together that has stitching on the top. It's the same as the other. You just need to make sure that you've got, again, the diameter of the circle for the linen, and have it pressed under, because, okay. Anyway, I'm reading, the person sent me a message. I got to answer them. Sorry, I just sort of went into la la land. But anyway, this is the first part. This is getting yourself settled and straight, and I will finish talking about this tomorrow and show you, or either late tonight, depending on when I get the thread, and I will show you how to start manipulating and putting the top together, etc. Okay? Another thing you can do, which I might do, is I've pressed it, and if you use the interfacing, you can tack stitch the seam down so it keeps it out of the way. And what you can do is just skim the interfacing to stitch down the seam on your round pieces. A lot of it's easier for people to do if they are not used to finishing, because then you're not fighting your seam allowance as you're stitching it along. And I think there's some people that stitch all these things together with a sewing machine and then cut a hole in, or either leave one of the seams on the side of the drum open and turn it all inside out. I do all mine by hand. I'm like that. I'm just a hand person. Sewing machines are like glue. I use them only when I have to. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm running out to do my things. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Oh, hi, Maria. You're catching me at the end. Trying to wave. It's not letting me. Ah, there I waved. Yay! Just watch this again. This is starting to do a drum, and the drum is with a stitched bit and non-stitched bottom and side. And I just go over the first things you do before you do that. And I think I'm collywog, so I'll just lean this way as I again say bye. And I will be seeing you guys either later tonight or tomorrow. And thanks for joining me. Bye.